So Daniel, give us a bit. I did a bit of an intro of your incredible background with FIT and others as well. Can you just share with our listeners today on who you are and a bit of your absolutely incredible brand?
Oh, well, thank you so much, first of all. Sure, yeah, absolutely, I would love to. Fashion, but more so style, has always been a huge interest of mine. Ever since I was a kid, I was always interested in, um, clothing and what people were wearing and all of that. Um, and so I think it happened really naturally. I didn't know that, this was a profession or this is what I wanted to do as a kid. Um, but I probably around 19 or 20, I started realizing, maybe it's something that I could actually pursue as a career. Um, but the important thing for me with 18 weights was always from day one that, um, it was about creating a lifestyle. It wasn't just about making,
Yeah.
shirts. It was about, what is this brand going to be? What
Mm-hmm.
does it represent? What is it about?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was always more important and still is, about that, um, and that general vibe and that
Right.
general lifestyle than just about one product in particular.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when I was starting the whole thing, that was always kept in mind. And, keep that true to this day, I think is important.
Yeah, it's one of the things. It's this love of music that you've had as well, and it can very much come through as well. And I grew up in a household that music wasn't a big thing, and I'm fascinated by people that are just so driven by it, or you're in their vehicle or you're in their home and there's music is constantly in the background, and it's not my world at all. But how you've tied the music together with the love of the brand is just so brilliantly done. I know the story, but if you don't mind sharing, what's the inspiration behind the name 18 Weights?
Sure. Well, that's a good question. I was like conceiving when I was living in New York and working with Rogan. I was conceiving the brand and the idea behind it. And of course, you need a name, and you really need a good one. And so I had all kinds of plans for the brand. That was all developing, but I couldn't land on a name. That was the biggest thing that eluded me. Um, my favorite number is 18, so I wanted to use that somewhere. Um, so it was going to be something 18 or 18 something. And
Yeah.
at that time, I was in my early 20s and listening to a lot of 70s Tom Waits. And I was walking around the Lower East Side at night, um, which is where I was living, wearing my headphones, listening to Tom Waits. And, it was like lightly raining and the lights were out and, busy as always.
Yeah.
And it just hit me, like I stopped dead in my tracks. It was like literally a light bulb moment, or lightning if you want.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it. It's 18 weights. And I was like by myself and like so happy. I'm like looking around, like, did anyone else hear my thought? Like it's perfect. So that's how 18 weights came about.
I mean, it's such a unique name. It's one of those names that you don't forget it. It just sticks in your head, and sometimes that's the beauty of the names is they just come so naturally, and they come so fast, and obviously as being your favorite number, and Tom Waits, which you're obviously a massive music fan as well. For those that don't know, I challenge you to Google 18 Weights on YouTube. Search 18 Weights. You guys are doing these fun concerts. I'm not sure if they're actually at the store or in the backyard, in the back area, but just crazy cool with these impromptu concerts you guys do. And I'm gathering that's you playing the guitar.
you know what, I played guitar at one of them during an encore just for fun. They had me in the way back in the corner, and you know, I was happy with that.
Wow.
But that's actually at our store. And of course, you know, pre-COVID, we we would like to throw these store concerts. It was like a concert series that we had
Wow.
regularly, and that we will continue once, you know, things get back there.
Wow.
And it's so much fun, Roger. They're always free. They're always sold out. You
Yeah.
know, we fill the space as, you know, and it's every single time like people come up to me, they're like, this is the best bar in the city, you know, or like, I'm having the best time. This was the best night of the month that I've been out.
Yeah.
And it's really, really fun. And the whole purpose of that is just for community engagement.
Yeah.
Let's just bring good people together.
Yeah.
And that's it. Again, it's, you know, it's not about selling a shirt. It's not about anything other than we love where we live.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great people who
Yeah.
live where we live, and a lot of talented people who
Yeah.
live where we live.
Yeah.
Let's bring everyone together and have a good time.
Love that.
And it really resonates, you know.
Wait, and I mean, you can tell, and even the fashion films, as I apologize again, as I was having some technical difficulties, I commented that I've interviewed many fashion designers, filmmakers, you know, with the Canadian International Fashion Film Festival, but you're the first with a fashion background who's being creating fashion films, not knowing they were literally a thing, and there's 47 fashion film festivals around the world, and you're just doing it for fun. I have to talk about your fashion film, which is actually submitted to our festival this year, which I'm so thankful for, called The Blazer. And it's just brilliant. Of, you know, these two guys, you know, I'll say fighting over this 18 weights blazer and the confidence it gives them, and just brilliant. I think it was if I'm not mistaken, Matt Atkinson, a friend of yours, that had put it together. What was the inspiration? What was the thought behind it? Just so simple, but just so cool. What was the inspiration behind that?
So, you know, I'm glad you bring this up. So first of all, I had no idea that, as you said, these fashion films were a thing. Turns out they're a huge thing. And, you know, we started doing these maybe, you know, 10, 11 years ago, or maybe 9, 10 years ago, just for fun. And one thing that I love about, well, there's many things that I love about it, but a big thing that I love about 18 Weights is that it allows us, you know, to collaborate with a lot of great and really interested and talented people. You know, we're allowed to play in a lot of different sandboxes, you know, if you will. And I'm glad you bring up Matt, because Matt Atkinson, he's one of my oldest friends. We both grew up together in Ottawa. And he's a really talented director, but he also writes. And so when we first started, you know, really getting going, we're like, let's do a video. And then our other friend, Rob Scarborough, is a very talented, award-winning DP. So he would do all the visual work with the camera. Matt would write the piece, edit the piece. In The Blazer, he was actually in the piece. So that was me, and, you know, my roommate slash nemesis is actually Matt.
Yeah.
So where he comes up with these ideas, you know, I'd love to loop him into it at some point, but, you know, for that one, I don't want to speak too much for him, but he always likes, you know, infusing what he does with a little bit of humor.
Yeah.
You know, so it needs to look good. It needs to be great.
Right.
It's always a little bit tongue in cheek.
Sure.
And, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, we don't want to take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean we don't care. We work our asses off,
yeah,
but we can have fun while doing it, and we can show that.
Yeah. Well, I know, and what I love about the fashion films, because you've done many of them, that you've created, and I've said this, you know, a million times, as much as I love a good fashion show, and there's nothing to take away from the ambiance of the crowd, of the models, of the the photographers and the media in attendance. It's just an ambiance. But at the same point, there's something about fashion film, and especially what you've created, where you've now brought to life that piece. I look at that blazer entirely different than I would good looking guy, good looking gal walking a runway. You've literally brought, and it was one piece. It literally was one. I get it. You know, the entire film was styled in 18 weights, but it was based on one piece.
Yeah.
And that one piece basically brought to life the entire collection. I knew what 18 weights was about based on that one video, on that one jacket.
I'm so glad, because that means that it worked entirely. You know, like that was the idea. But you know, that's exactly the sort of reaction that we're hoping for in doing this.
Yeah.
You know, something else I guess that goes in tow with the videos that we've done,
Yeah.
is that it's all done with friends. You know, they're to be truthful, they're done on a shoestring budget with
Yeah.
friends who are honestly just having a good time.
Yeah.
And I feel that since we started doing that, that really resonates as well, because, you know, we're not opening the yellow pages and finding so and so and such and hiring this and that. You know, with a bottomless budget, it's really, it's truly passion project for everybody involved.
Yeah. I have to comment. I'm just watching the flow of people in on this conversation. We've got Mazdi in Mexico City, Lauren in Beverly Hills, Amy from the Style Harris, which I adore, is in Miami right now, Nicolo in Milan and Berlin. Your brand, even though you're based here in Toronto, and we're happy that you're a Canadian-based brand, you do ship globally across the world, don't you?
We ship all over the world, and you know, that's when we first, you know, were getting going. That was something I wanted to be very careful about, because we're a Canadian brand and very proudly Canadian. You know, we make everything here. It's very high quality, and you know, personally, I love being Canadian. You know, I was in New York, which, as you know, is the hub, and purposely moved to Toronto to start 18 weights as opposed to New York.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be sure to not be pigeonholed as just a Canadian brand just for Canada, that we're a Canadian brand that's global.
Yeah.
You know, and people from everywhere can and should enjoy it. And to also showcase to the world that Canada has a lot of talent across the board. Music, film, art, television, and fashion.
Yeah. No, but 100%. And even though we are world renowned for our outerwear, you know, the style that you've created and the pieces, it just, you know, makes me again proud to be Canadian, just because it's just so crazy cool. I know I'm going through a photo shoot in a few weeks, and I through Audrey, and I'll talk about Audrey in a second. You know, you've offered to style me, and I'm like, I don't think I'm cool enough to wear 18 weights. Like, I live in my suits and my blazers, and it's kind of my comfort zone, right? Suits, and it's my world, right? And then I look at the 18 weights line, and it's jewelry, and it's hats, and it's bandanas and scarves, and it's like, I need to seriously up my game before I ever go to 18 weights. But at the same point, you know, it's one thing about men, you know, and I refer to the Italian man, the Italian male, as really the benchmark on cool style, whether it's, you know, an 18 weights look, or it's, you know, it's a very simple black suit and tie. What is your, I'm trying to form this properly. What is your take on somebody like me who can be scared to, you know, I couldn't pull off your look, you know, the cool hat, the scarves, the jewelry. Like, what is your advice to challenge somebody to change up a look or to play?
I'm so glad you brought this up, Roger, because we hear this all the time, and you know, it's a very real thing for people, and particularly with men. Now, you know, there's a lot of guys who will have, you know, desire to want to dress a certain way or have a certain style. You know, for instance, I hear all the time, oh, I wish I could wear jewelry, I just can't. Or, oh, I wish I was a hat guy, but I'm just not.
Yeah.
And, so, and I always tell these people that I'm talking with, I'm like, well, yes, you are, and you just need to find something that you are comfortable with,
Right.
That works for you.
Yeah.
And we're here to help, so you're not everybody's supposed to have all the answers and be able to make all these decisions right away, at least. There's
Sure.
an education process, and that's with, I think, anything in life, but particularly with style. So what's been really nice is we've been able to walk people through this. I can think of customers that have in a very shy manner walked through the door years ago.
Right.
And be like, oh, I really like this, but I don't know if this is for me. I love that shirt, but I don't know if I could wear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And fast forward to 6 years later, and they're our best customer. Because it's baby steps, and you start with what you're comfortable with. A lot of friends are like, I love your jewelry, but how do I do that? I'm like, well, you wear a nice watch. So pair that with one bracelet. See how that feels.
Right.
And then after a while, it's second nature. And all of a sudden, the next time I see them, they have 3 bracelets. And I'm like, I like what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's a gradual progression.
Yeah.
But also, I think that's what's important is why, our customer service is so crucial. That's been one of the most important things from day one is to say exceptional customer service.
Yeah.
Because we're here to help, and we want to be inclusive. I want 18 weights, for everyone to feel comfortable in it. We have a lot of female customers, which is something that was new to us since we opened the store. It wasn't so much online, and then we opened the store.
Right.
And a lot of female customers, a lot of gender neutral.
Yeah.
And it's the idea is that when I started 18 Weights 13 years ago, it was a menswear brand. But what I've learned is that it's not a menswear brand. It's for everybody and anybody who likes it. And if anybody likes it, even whether they're sure or not, our job is to help, guide them on that, on that sartorial journey and make them feel comfortable. And it's been a fun adventure.
Yeah, and I mean the beauty of your story. We've actually got Mei Ling joined us. Mei Ling is out of Trinidad and Tobago. Has had her atelier for I think it's 51, 52 years. Very much knows her demographic. She is dressed. I'll swear half of the Caribbean as well. But the customers that walk into Mei Ling's place, know her aesthetic. They know the color palette and what have you. Do you find with 18 Weights, you get the odd, person, guy or gal that's going to walk in and go, this is not for me. It's one thing to photograph or to appear, cool in a picture or a video, but it's also about carrying it, carrying that. I bring up, the phrase, that bohemian look where you don't care, you're in your own shoes. I think of the theme, wear well, enjoy, love, destroy, as well. But how do you cross that threshold where it's one thing to dress up, but then it's a whole nother thing to carry it?
Good point. Well, whenever we're approaching a collection, first of all, we look at it as a collection and not just as designing pieces.
Right.
And every piece within a collection is cohesive, so the whole collection will look good on its own. Together and on its own. One thing that we've always done from the beginning and to this day is that the idea is that it's an instant classic, or that you can put it in your regular rotation. And I never want to make anything where you find it in the back of your closet in 10 years and be like, what the hell was I thinking in 2021? It just doesn't make sense. So, we don't really follow fads. Well, we don't follow fads. We don't follow trends.
Yeah.
what we do is we design and produce pieces that we know you're going to love now,
Yeah.
but you're still going to love if you haven't destroyed it yet
Yeah. Yeah.
in 5, 8, 10 years. And that's the idea. The idea is that you can take the piece, insert it in your closet, and it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Every collection will have a few pieces that might stand out as, let's say, the loud or the fun pieces.
Right.
But for every one of those, there'll be 8 others that are just really well made. It's toned down. The quality is in the fabric and the color and the texture of it. So it's very accessible if that's what you're wondering. It's and then we'll gradually work you up to the fun shirt.
Yeah.
But we've got something definitely for everybody, no matter where you are on the scale of how you want to be styled or dressed.
Yeah. Well, I'll just take a couple minutes and talk about our dear Audrey. So full disclaimer here, Audrey is also the research director for the Canadian International Fashion Film Festival. She does it in her spare time. And Audrey also works in marketing with 18 Weights. So it's how I was actually able to meet the brilliant Daniel and 18 Weights. So forever grateful for Audrey. Just I believe you guys are friends through Ottawa area as well, where you met Audrey. Finished a business degree, went heavily into fashion, follows this whole fashion as well. So, and now here in Toronto, we're very thankful to have Audrey here in Toronto with us as well.
Absolutely. Audrey's been fantastic within 18 Weights. We've got a really great team. A lot of people don't know this, but we have a very small team. We do a lot of great work, and we all wear many hats, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
But the team right now is just fantastic. And when you have a small team, it needs to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Like a tricycle can't have one bad wheel. The whole thing breaks down. It just won't work.
Sure, 100%.
So, right now the team is really strong. We have a great production manager whose name's Val, and a fantastic store manager and merchandiser who's Tara, and of course Audrey, who's doing our e-com and marketing and just doing a fantastic job at it. We have an in-house photographer named Haley, and we work really closely with a lot of the models that we have, who all happen to be friends, by the way, with our factories, which are all local.
Yeah, wow.
So the whole team, it really needs to mesh well, and we do. And I think, like the videos, when you have a team that works so well together and has fun together, it resonates with it through everything you do.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you bringing that up, because it isn't just me. Maybe 14 years ago, but we're far from those days. Yeah. And it's really the team that brings it all together.
Yeah, it's a great comment that it is a team. Somebody told me years ago, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And to always hire people smarter than yourself, it just elevates you. I'm 53 years old. I'm constantly learning, from students of mine that are here. I just see Daniel Haddon just joined us. He's the CEO of the Commonwealth Fashion Council in the UK. I love seeing the names on here. Some stylists. I saw Shane Stevens, menswear icon here in Canada as well. So it's nice to see all the names on here. You mentioned talking about factories in the Toronto area. So you are made in Canada, the label.
We are. Everything we manufacture is done here. So our, tagline is quality crafted in Canada.
Wow.
And it really is. And it's not easy, to tell you the truth. To be honest, it's not easy. There are a lot of challenges of manufacturing here, as there are challenges manufacturing anywhere. Yeah. But I think it's important to us, and it's served us well, because the two tenets of 18 weights since we've started, which ring true to today,
Mm-hmm.
are exceptionally high quality and attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
And that rings true. There's that common thread,
Yeah.
if you will,
Yeah.
whether it's, designing our business cards to a suit blazer.
Right.
So, manufacturing in Canada is important for a number of reasons because we do have high quality here. We do have capability just as good as anywhere in the world.
Sure.
We do want to support, local as we want to be supported local as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I see Shane just joined us again. Yeah, because when I think of that 18 weights consumer, male consumer, it's somebody like a Shane or like yourself that they just don't care what other people think. It's their own genre. It matches their who they are as a person. Whether it's with a motorbike or out for a night with the girlfriends or guy friends, whatever have you. It's just that true lifestyle. I wanted to talk about this current global health crisis we're in. It's not the first health crisis. You launched in 2008 when our generation saw the worst financial crisis of our lifetime. And Daniel's setting up a retail store with premium, products made in Canada. What was that like? And how are you seeing it different now in 2020 and 2021?
Well, that's a really good question. Yeah, we started 18 weights in the global economic crisis. So it couldn't have been worse timing. But it's something that I had to do, and I was ready. So if that means that it starts on a smaller scale, then it starts on a smaller scale. But I wasn't ready prior to that, and I wasn't going to wait. So it was a challenge. But I think that anything worthwhile is a challenge and is hard work. And, it's important to be able to pivot and be dynamic and kind of, go with the flow, as it were, And so, to tell you the truth, it was an economic crisis, but I didn't know any better. I didn't have the prior year's experience being like, well, it was so much easier last year. It just, for me, it was what it was. So I pursued what I wanted to do, and actually it worked out really well. Like how it started was with graphic T-shirts and sterling silver jewelry.
Right.
And I would literally pack it up in a bag and bring it to the stores in Toronto that I wanted it to be in.
Wow.
They were the best ones.
Yeah.
And I think that almost all of them accepted it. So, it was a pretty strong start, small.
Wow.
But it was really encouraging because these were the top stores in Toronto.
Yeah.
And, so it was a good start. Now, it's been uphill from there because it's not easy as you grow, as you scale. It doesn't become easier. I think it becomes more difficult, more challenging. How things differ now, it's quite different, actually. See, in 2008, with the economic crisis, people were still able to do things. So maybe that doesn't mean you can, go on a luxurious trip or, build an addition to the house or buy a cottage. But you still need to do something, so people would go out to treat themselves to dinner.
Right.
They wouldn't go to France, but they'd go to a French restaurant around the corner.
Right.
So people were still able to do things, and they were still shopping for clothes because they were still getting out. They were still getting together with their family and friends, and they still wanted to treat themselves. It's drastically different now because not only can people not travel, but they can't even go out. So we'll release a really great shirt that a lot of people will like, but they'll be conflicted because they're like, I haven't left my house in 4 days. And the T-shirt I'm wearing is starting to stick to me. you know, now. So I understand that concern. But, you know, the good news with the nicer weather is that, you know, you can get out and go for a walk, or you can hang out in a park or in the backyard. And I think that's important. And what's
Right.
helped me, Roger, through this is I still get dressed in the morning. You know, maybe for today I put on an extra ring or two, but every day I'm still getting dressed. I'm still putting on a shirt that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a lot of difference because it changes your mentality. And you know, so put on the shirt that you would only wear on Friday. Put it on Wednesday at home.
Yeah.
Feel good about it.
Yeah.
If you're going to the grocery store and hopefully being safe doing so, wear a great shirt. Put on your hat that you really, really like. You'll feel better about it. And I think it's important for mental health. I think it's important for esteem. I think it's important for how you feel.
Yeah.
So I think it's a huge change now from the 2008 issues we were having with economics.
Yeah, no, it's a very astute comment. I get dressed up to go to the grocery store just because it's the only time I'm literally out of the house. I'm lucky. I work from home. Same with my wife. We both are blessed to be able to work from home. But yeah, when I'm outside, it's an opportunity. I've got a closet that's growing mothballs. Literally spent about 10 minutes in front of my wardrobe this morning. Knowing, oh my, I'm interviewing such an iconic, guy with Daniel with 18 weights. What am I going to wear? It ain't going to be a suit, number one. What am I going to wear here? But to your point, I did an interview a while ago where we were talking about the Roaring 20s, and I truly believe that is coming back when the world hits herd immunity. Call it what you want. It's lifted and we can start to party and get together with our friends again. I truly believe, we're going to be in these roaring 20s, whether it's gala evenings in suits, whether it's, dressing up in 18 weights to get together with friends. It's that chance to just really appreciate life. I mean, it's the mantra of the 18 weights brand, but really, truly embracing people again on wow, I've missed you. I'm an extrovert. I swear our mailman is missing my house on purpose. I'm a hugger. I'm a kisser. I'm a shake hands. I love people. And now I'm what are we now? 14 months being locked down. It's tough for an extrovert, where I need people around me as well. So yeah, it's going to be, I lost my throat, an exciting time for, again, 18 weights plus other brands as well, where, number one, there was Royal Bank had done a commission a while ago talking, I think it was $7 or $8 billion of pent up savings of Canadians that just want to spend. They just want to get out there. And I want to go to the theater. I want to buy a meal at a restaurant. I want to buy some clothes because, yeah, my clothes right now are getting, a lot of wear and tear, specific amounts of clothes. But yeah, I do see that with your brand.
I agree. I think there's going to be a huge, it will be like the 20s. It's just going to be a huge party. Everybody is going to, definitely have the desire and the urge to get out there, to socialize, to go to the theater, to go to concerts, to visit with friends, to travel. And so, we all just need to hang on. We need to be positive and optimistic, which is sometimes hard to do, but I do see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And we're all going to get there. And it's going to be such a great party once we do. So I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Roger, I was talking to a friend the other week, and they said something interesting that really, gave me pause. And they said, this is our war. Our grandparents had World War II, and then their parents or grandparents had World War I. And this is our generation's war because it's global. It's affected everybody. And it's crushed the economy. And there's been, and unfortunately, a horrible amount of mortality. And 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 pretty extreme measures throughout an entire country or province, like stay at home or lockdown. Or
Yeah.
so it was a really interesting, analogy. And as you said, with the 20s, what comes out of it is going to be really joyful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And it's one thing again about your brand is it's not a pretentious brand. So it's as we come out of this, and I'm big into demographic profiling, right? What is the Gucci customer? What is the Dior customer? As you go through, and then you come across, what is the 18 Ways customer? And all you have to do is just watch a few fashion films that you produce. Go to your website, and right away who the 18 Weights customer is. And it's literally that one who's probably already, dealing with this crisis by going with a great walk, maybe a socially distanced walk with his friend on the railway tracks. I think of all of your fashion films, where they're literally walking on the racetracks, or they're at the cottage, or, they're fighting over a blazer or whatever have you. But I think that 18 Weights customer already has that appreciation for life. And to be able to just go outside and breathe fresh air for a good half an hour, whatever have you. And it's more, I think the world needs more of that type of customer again, that just, it's not pretentiousness, apparel. If, again, I bring back to, to your motto on, wear well, destroy, it gets a rip. It's like scars of life. It's well worn. I talk about this scar in the middle of my head. I'm 8 years old, and everybody else in the playground would go down the railing, backwards. I thought I tried going frontwards, and all of a sudden, this cement sidewalk came up and took my head out, and literally still to this day I have a scar in my head. But that's life stories, right? It's similar to the 18 Weights clothing. Well, it needs to be well worn, whether or not they're already coming in well worn with, again, the jackets, the hats, the scarves, the jeans, the shoes, the boots that you've got. I think of that, the scars of life.
Well, Roger, that's absolutely part of the journey. And I do feel that way with clothing too. You'll see a really great, well-worn jacket that it's impossible to make that. It needs to be well-worn and enjoyed and loved, yeah. And destroyed, and I've on no fewer than 5 occasions asked customers whether I can buy back one of their jackets that they were wearing of 18 Weights, that they'd come in and they'd be like, check this out, this was 5 years ago. Wow. And it just looks incredible. And every single time, they wanted, the answer was no, first of all, every time, but very hesitant because, they want to, be nice, but they're like, I can't part with this. And I always tell them that's the right answer. But, it wasn't a test. I actually do want that. Sure. I'll buy it back from you. But that's the right answer. Wow. And, that's really special, a connection that people can then have and make, and feel good about it. And it becomes part of, part of their wardrobe and part of their identity as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Yeah. No, I love the comment, part of your identity, because it's exactly that, where I've got key pieces that I'm embarrassed to say I probably had for 20 years, but I love them, especially footwear. It doesn't change as much. Right. Yeah. I'm gonna put you on the spot. What is your oldest piece from the 18 Weights collection? Do you have some pieces from when you started 14 years ago?
For sure. I do, yeah. And sometimes things are so old. I wasn't even sure if it was ours. I was like, is this an 18 Weights piece? Yeah. I saw a friend the other day who actually, he's a terrific guy. His name is Jay, and he does these hats, which is coup de tête. And, they're just around the corner from us. So another great Canadian brand. And he was wearing this jacket that looked so good. And it was so old and beat up, and it was perfect. It was just perfect. And I was like, that's a really great coat. And I'm like, what is that? And he just looked at me like I was, I had like 4 eyes. He's like, dude, this is your jacket. So I do have some old pieces. I would think some of the old T-shirts are my favorite. Some of the old graphics that we have.
Yeah.
All the old jewelry I still wear. When we first started, the collections were a lot smaller, so there was a lot less on offer.
Yeah.
But this is our brand new Weekender jacket, which I'm so proud of, and it's my favorite one we've ever done. And I probably have about 6 different Weekender jackets. So that item would date back quite a bit.
Yeah.
But to tell you the truth, I'm a sucker for rock and roll T-shirts, vintage rock and roll T-shirts, or ones that I purchased myself at concerts.
Yeah. So
I'm usually head to toe 18 weights, but then with an old Rolling Stones T-shirt or something.
Yeah. That's a whole separate discussion. A friend of mine, Johnny Brower, who a rock and roll promoter, in 1969 held a rock and roll revival in the Toronto Varsity Arena that had John Lennon, that led to the breakup of the Beatles. His one concert, and Johnny's now living in Venice Beach, 73 years old, but absolute legend. And the guy, I think I've seen him in a suit once, lives in rock and roll T-shirts, and literally will scour, amongst other friends I know, will scour Salvation Armies and Value Villages looking for vintage rock and roll T-shirts as well. It seems to be this massive subculture with rock and roll T-shirts.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think it's, well, they're hard to find, but then, it's also kind of part of your identity as well. Like you're supporting something, and, like you're part of the club.
Yeah.
It's so there's people really, they identify with that really well.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but the people who do really quite a bit.
When I was first dating my wife, I think she had been to one or two U2 concerts. I think the only concert I was ever at in my life was Randy Travis, and it was only because I liked this girl and she was a fan of Randy Travis. The only concert I've ever been to in life. For you, what's a favorite concert you've ever been to?
That might be an impossible question. But they're just, truthfully, just because there's been so many. I mean, my first concert I was 6 years old, and it was the Beach Boys.
Oh, wow.
That was a really good way to start. And
Wow.
it's just kind of, it's been a pretty constant thing in my life ever since. A lot of friends over this past year have checked in on me.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, Danny, are you doing okay? I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm actually doing really well. Why? They're like, because you can't go to any concerts. They're like, well, what are you doing with your time, and how do you feel about it? So, I mean, there's just so many. Stevie Wonder puts on a great show. Cat Stevens was a highlight. Obviously, the big ones like the Stones and Tom Petty.
Yeah.
I've maybe seen Tom Petty 15 times, the Stones maybe 10.
Wow.
So it's pretty regular. And, there's quite a few concerts that I don't even remember going to. So, friends are like, remember when we went to Toots and the Maytals in New York?
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't. But it sounds like it was a really good time. So it's a tough question.
Yeah, I'm sure living in New York, you had your fair share of concerts you can go to as well.
New York was that was probably the pinnacle, the peak. There were too many concerts. You had to pick and choose, but it was a good way to pass the time.
I'm going to just take a bit of a diversion with the time we've got left with you, because I could continue. I've loved this conversation of learning and just hearing about such an iconic brand. This trend that we're in, called slow fashion, it's really gained steam, over the last year or two, where it stands for 3 things: being ethical, eco, and lasting. It's basically 3 circles. You put it in the middle, and it's what stands for slow fashion. And obviously, again, as much as I talk about your tagline, wear well, enjoy, love, and destroy, and again, not being prissy about being the line is, yeah, rip it, damage it, get it repaired, whatever have you. It's basically life stories. Is that, that's been the history with the brand. Are you finding consumers changing where, yeah, I don't want to pay that premium. I don't want to have this for 20 years. I just wanted to get me through a year. Do you find the menswear, I'm not saying it's different than women's wear, but menswear, we have definitely a lot less choice in the fashion that we wear. Do you find because of that, people don't want to pay the premium, or they're comfortable paying that premium for a piece that's going to last your lifetime?
I think that's what it is. I think it's the reverse, actually, Roger. I think that people who become familiar with the brand or know it, it becomes a no-brainer. People who don't will ask that question, and it's a very good question. It's a very fair question. Mm-hmm. Why is this shirt that price? Why is the jacket that price? And, and that's excellent, because that's part of the education. It's not just about 18 weights. It's about what you're talking about with slow fashion versus fast fashion and fads.
Sure.
So I love hearing that question, because it opens the door. It gives us an opportunity, to talk about it and to, explain, and not in a pretentious way, educate.
Right.
There's I love to learn about things that I don't know about, but also that are helpful to me and to my neighbors and to the world. What I find is that, so first of all, our tagline, "Wear well, enjoy, love, destroy," wouldn't work if it was fast fashion, because then you're just rapidly, discarding your things, which I never think is a good idea.
Right.
Why it does work is because our pieces are so well made that you will have it for a long, long time. Yeah. And so the point is that you're going to love it and you're going to wear it more often than your other, your fast fashion. Yeah. It's going to last a lot longer. And, you're still going to have it in 8 years. And you will, when you do get holes in the elbows, it's going to look great. Yeah. And that's the point of the destroy. There was, I had a customer a few years ago in the store saying, "Oh my God, I love this jacket. It's the Weekender again. I want to get this so badly, but I have 3 and they're not wearing down. I just simply can't justify." He's like, if they were starting to break down on me, sure, I would buy this right now. And, again, I told him, well, that's the best thing I can hear. And because it's not about pushing anything. Yeah. It's not about high turnover, unless you're comfortable with that and that you want a larger closet. Yeah. But the point is that I like the idea that people, and particularly guys, are coming around to the fact that I'll buy a few very quality things, right, that I love, and I'll enjoy the hell out of it, and it's going to last me really well and long.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting coming out of this health crisis, where the global supply chain has just been so interrupted all over the map, from fabrics to it's not just a matter of containers coming in with the latest shipment. It's fabric mills, it's farmers not being able to get the cotton to market. It just disrupted everything. One of the I hate to use the word, but one of the advantages, one of the things about this correction that's going on in the world right now, is it's really brought to life our local community on supporting local designers, local fabric mills, local artisans that are sewing it as well, which you've been doing for the last 14 years already. But it's like, hey, we're in stock, we've got the product, we're following the trends, we're following our customers' demands, and yeah, it's making us rethink our homes. It's made us rethink, in my opinion, what we're dressing up in every day. We're reevaluating life. Do I really need 100 pieces in my closet? I think of the old 80-20 rule, where we wear 20% of our closet 80% of the time. And I'm sure, it's very much with your brand as well.
For sure. And Roger, I see that as you mentioned, that's a silver lining, because there have been silver linings and learning moments throughout this pandemic. And I think they've been really important ones. They've been big ones, not just little, minor daily ones. So, you say it's an advantage, and it is. It's a silver lining, where things have slowed down. And at first we were like, oh shit, everything is slowed down. We can't get things as we need them. The factories are not even open.
Right.
Then the factories are open, but they're making protective equipment, like wartime.
Yeah.
Everything just slowed down and is on its head.
Yeah.
But it turned, so at first it's a panic. But what turns out is that, once everybody's blood level drops a little bit and everyone starts to breathe,
yeah,
it turns into a good thing. And, particularly in fashion, it used to be so hectic. It's a new collection every 6 months.
Sure.
I mean, which is pretty insane. Like, I'm not even finished with, like enjoying what we just did. You take a step back and be like, wow, that was really good. We did a really good job this season.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're already having to think of the next thing and the next thing. And,
yeah,
Roger, we're in April, but we're already having to, design next summer stuff.
Sure.
Like, let alone this coming winter. So, that's the traditional cycle of fashion, which I think is too rapid a pace.
Right.
But it also naturally lends itself to a lot of waste. There's a lot of waste there with, having to completely reinvent something and then put out entirely new things so frequently. And, it'd be nice to sit back and enjoy it for a minute from our perspective, but also from a consumer perspective.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a big silver lining for our industry, but also for the world. And hopefully that has somewhat of an impact on, the environment globally and people's mentality, how they consume, how they've been taught to consume. And hopefully there's a shift in that.
Yeah. I'm loving some of the comments on the thread. Fasal and a few of the others, who's obviously a big fan of the line, commenting. And somebody else had commented, worth the 18 weights, which I thought was a brilliant tagline going into that as well. How do you feel, though? A number of fashion journalists and others are talking where our industry is now going seasonless, where it's not necessarily fall, winter, spring, summer, and you've obviously got classic pieces. How do you follow the seasons, or do you really even follow the seasons anymore?
Yeah, I love that. Actually, I didn't know that was, an upcoming trend, and I love it. I think that's fantastic. We market the Weekender jacket as a 3-season piece. You wear it in spring, you wear it in fall, you can wear it in summer evenings, and the fact that something is only fur, you can only wear it between May and August, and then put it in a box and put it under your bed, doesn't make sense to me. It never has.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled about that. It's something that we've traditionally had to follow to a degree, because we're selling to stores, and stores constantly need a new collection. They need new restock. But what we've been discussing with Audrey and the team is that we're going to move more into evergreen collections, whereas something will be available all year round just because it's good and because you can enjoy it all year round. We won't offer shorts in February in Canada.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why, you're going to see me in winter wearing this jacket. That's a promise.
Sure.
So I really like that direction, and I think it's an important one.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, the beauty of winters, even in Canada, aside from somebody commuting an hour to work, and wearing a jacket that's literally, going to keep them warm from -10, -15. It's been years since I can remember -25, -30 in Toronto. I know Canada's a massive place, but, the reality is I have a couple overcoats. I'm from my Jeep, you know, bombing into the city. I'm literally not even a minute, you know, to park and going inside with where I'm at. I'm not the demographic that's got that heavy parka unless I'm walking the dogs or walking outside, you know, for an hour. So, you know, a collection like yours is literally truly a 12 season type of an outfit. We literally, Instagram's going to kick us off here shortly because we're actually over an hour, and Instagram's normally at an hour. One, your dream, a couple last questions. If you were to have a dream collaboration, whether it was in a city, whether it was with a person, with an actor, a movie, what would be a dream collaboration for you?
Oh, wow. Well, you know, that's a tough one. I'll probably be thinking about that one for the rest of the day. But I would love to do a line for the Stones. I'd love to do a capsule collection for the Rolling Stones. You know, I think it would go really well. I think it'd be a lot of fun, that's for sure. Ronnie and I have a pretty good rapport, actually, and he wears a lot of 18 weights.
Oh, wow.
So we're in touch regularly. And that would probably be my dream. I think it would be the most fun thing that we could possibly do. So being put on the spot, that's my answer. But, you know, maybe we revisit that in a week.
Yeah. Well, and we'll continue this conversation as well. Just the consulting that I do within the film industry as well, where, you know, whether it's a period movie in the 1400s, whether it's a war movie, whether it's futuristic, you know, Toronto's absolutely on fire right now with so many TV series, Netflix series, movies going on, you know, and where is that, you know, 18 weights look within the film as well. So I have to thank you just in closing before, Instagram totally kicks us off. I've been looking forward to this conversation for the longest time. This is the first conversation of the CANIFFF season this year. We're looking forward to every week or every 2 weeks, you know, profiling a designer, a filmmaker around the world. And to kick it off, it's obviously it's got to be Canadian, obviously in our own back door of here in Toronto. Any closing comments from you?
Well, Roger, I really appreciate. I mean, first of all, it was a lot of fun to chat, and you know, I can do this all day with you. So thank you for that. Thank you for having us on, and also thank you for what you're doing. You know, you really brought to light fashion films, and which, as you said, I didn't even know was a thing. So I think it's great. So I want to thank you for doing what you're doing and for choosing us. And on a closing note, I want to revise my collaboration because it wasn't an obvious choice, but I think it would be cool as hell to do something with Drake and his beautiful brand OVO. That would be fun because it would mesh two worlds entirely.
Yeah. Well, one of our official judges last season was Jordan Orram. I was actually texting him this morning. He's filming a series in Winnipeg. He's been there for the last month or two. So Jordan Orram actually produces Drake's videos. Usher, Snoop Dogg, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll make sure I do the introduction.
Oh, that's amazing. You know, because that would be such a departure. I think it'd be really fun. You know, 18 Weights isn't known as streetwear, but, you know, very, very proudly Canadian and high quality and all that. It'd be fun.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's you brought up a comment as well. I hadn't really thought of it before. It was, you know, it's not necessarily that menswear brand. We didn't even get onto the kids aspect of the children's wear that you do, you know, based after your son. But obviously, you know, it's gender neutral type of a brand. I am looking forward to my photo shoot coming up. My pictures, I don't get them done very often. I think the last time I had a shoot was done with Merzetti, which was 2 years ago, and I use those pictures nonstop. And Audrey had said, "Hey, Roger, Daniel would love to style you." And
Awesome.
I'm like, oh, my cool game is gonna my street cred, so to speak, is gonna go up 100 notches just from that one alone. So I'm looking forward to that.
Us too. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, look forward to it. So Daniel, thank you very much. For those who want to follow the full interview, this will be shared on our IGTV stories. So yeah, in closing, thank you, Daniel, so much for your time today. Okay. Chat soon. Okay. Bye-bye.